And happy Election Day. Welcome to this special edition of your local election headquarters. I'm Alexander Balakian. Now, we do begin with the final surge of voters heading out to all 65 vote centers across Fresno County, and at the elections office, they have been expecting record turnout after seeing more than 220,000 ballots already cast during the early voting period. Our Jocelyn Moran joins us live there at Ground Zero in Fresno County, the downtown headquarters of the elections office. And Jocelyn, just give me a sense. What are you seeing and what are you hearing?
Well, the lines have actually been pretty steady. We did talk with Fresno County Clerk Brandy Orth, and she says that's been what they've seen all day. But I do want to show you the drive-through lane here at the elections office. Now, cars can come by and drop off those ballots. And as of this morning in Fresno County, more than 236,000 ballots had been received. That's either through the mail or through these drop boxes. And, you know, roughly there's about 496,000 registered voters. So that's about a 48% turnout. But people can still register to vote here at the elections office. Now, there are also 53 vote centers where you can vote in person or drop off those ballots. More than 60 drop boxes throughout the county to drop those off as well. But remember, it is very important and you have to make sure that you sign them. Now, as a reminder, at these vote centers and the elections office, there will be social distancing protocols in place, so the lines will take longer to get through. Now, here's what Fresno County Clerk Brandy Orth says you can expect at these vote centers here in the last couple of hours.
Our pandemic life now, all the safety precautions will be in place. Mask, hand sanitizer, plexiglass barrier between the voters and the vote workers, 6-foot social distancing, meaning there will be lines, you will be waiting outside. Then we'll be sanitizing all of the equipment after you leave, and so it's become our new norm.
Now, she also says as of about 1 p.m. today, they had about 11,000 people go through the vote centers in Fresno County. Now, as far as mailing in those ballots, Orth says it's too late to mail. Instead, she recommends you drop it off at one of the more than 60 drop boxes in the county. Now, with this drive-through lane, we've just been seeing cars going in and out. And as far, we did talk to some voters, and they were saying this was probably the easiest way for them to do it. Now, also at the elections office, they've put cones around and going through the parking garage, and that's in case those lines do get to the point where they have to go into the parking garage. But again, Fresno County Clerk Brandy Orth saying they just haven't seen that yet. And for a list of those locations on vote centers and drop boxes, you can see those on our website, yourcentralvalley.com. I'll send it back to you, Alexander.
Jocelyn, thank you so much. Well, Decision 2020 is unlike anything we have ever seen in American politics. From a pandemic to civil unrest, President Trump impeached by House Democrats, foreign interference in our election, Trump nominating and confirming 3 judges to the high court. This race has divided our country, and for some, friends and family have been severed by politics as well. One family that is very outspoken about their views and how it's impacted them. Let's bring in the Swearingens. Former Fresno Mayor Ashley Swearingen and her husband Paul, who is an author, licensed minister, and podcaster. Welcome, both of you. How are you guys?
Good. Thanks, Alexander, for having us.
Hello. You know, I want to start with
Happy Election Day.
Happy Election Day. I just want to get a sense that you guys have a podcast together, and both of you are conservative leaning, at least in the past. And both of you have been, again, outspoken on social media against President Trump at times. And I'm curious, what's the politics sound like around your kitchen table right now?
First of all, there's a lot of politics at our kitchen table. I think our kids are like, do we ever talk about anything else? But yeah, I mean, it's definitely dominates our household. And you know, Paul, you're the one who every single day sits in front of a computer and talks about what's going on in society. So you're probably best to answer that.
Yeah, I mean, we've just been seeing this coming for a long time. I think as conservative people, we saw kind of where conservative Christianity even was going. And when we saw the things that we wanted to see make Fresno a better place to live, and ultimately ended up with Ashley running for mayor and me starting a church, those things didn't appear to be necessarily Republican. And sometimes Republican Christians were against the things that we needed to see happen. And so it just started changing our viewpoint of what needed to happen. And so the things that really drive kind of conservative Christian evangelical voters aren't the things that we see as primary to see our city and our nation be a better place.
Well, we know husband and wives never always agree. We do know that. But how much do your politics together, how much has that been in a disagreement over the last few months leading up to the election?
I don't think too much.
No.
Yeah, I think that oftentimes I probably come at things with a little more of a pragmatic, operational point of view, having worked in government and, even today working with a lot of community partners and still working in community and economic development at the Central Valley Community Foundation. So I think Paul kind of tends to come in at the conceptual level and calling out these are the issues we need to be addressing and, and pointing out the ways in which some of our institutions, the church and, our political party and that kind of thing are actually are failing to accomplish the things that we all kind of signed up for and thought that they would accomplish. So that's kind of Paul's role. And then I'm a little more of the tactical, here's how you would actually get that done in the mechanics of government. But to be honest, our points of view, our hearts for our own community, our state, our nation, very much in sync with that. So that's why Saturday mornings are fun in our household. And I should say, it's Paul's podcast. I just kind of jump in once a week and frankly try to translate a little bit. And for anybody who's heard Paul's stuff at the nonpartisanevangelical.com, he's saying some hard things for center-right political Christian people to hear. So I sometimes feel like I need to translate a little bit.
Well, we've certainly lost some relationships around us, Alex.
Yeah, and Paul, I want to really kind of reference your new book. I do have it with me here on set. And it's When the Religious Right Becomes Religiously Wrong, Joseph Comes to Town. One, what inspired you to write that? And do you feel, because President Trump has always said, and you guys know this, that evangelicals vote for him. Do you feel that evangelicals are not voting for President Trump this time around?
Oh, no, I think I would say white evangelicals definitely are.
Yeah.
And that was the inspiration for the book of just seeing sort of this idea sneak into Christianity. And again, this predates Trump by many years, but this idea that God's a Republican and he requires, or at least he requires his people to be Republican, we found to be sort of the antithesis of what religion is and very different than the Jesus we saw in the Bible. So I imagined, what would Jesus say if he were in the flesh on earth in California today? And wrote it into a novel, made a parable out of it, if you will. And so that book is my imagination that Jesus wasn't very kind to the religious system when he was on earth the first time. And if he were here today, I think we would be pretty stunned to find he would be pretty critical of our religious systems today.
Just a couple more questions. We're always short on time, as you know, in politics, because it could go on for days. But, Ashley, I want to get your thoughts here as the former mayor. We've seen the politics from around the country really seep into what's happening on the dais here locally, especially with Fresno City Council. There's a lot of combative argument on the dais. What would be your advice to Jerry Dyer as he moves into that seat in January?
It really breaks my heart, to be honest. And it does not serve the community of Fresno and our residents here well. So I look back on the time that I spent at the city of Fresno and my colleagues on the city council. We really, in the mayor's office, we made a very intentional effort that we would not draw first blood. Sorry to be dramatic, and I'm speaking in, of course, political terms only, but we just really intentionally sought to set an example. And no idea was a bad idea, even if it came from, our worst political opponents. If there was merit to it, we felt that it needed a place to be heard and considered, and that our administration, our staff would work to implement it, even if it came from political opponents. And only the mayor, well, I shouldn't say it that way. I actually think council can set that direction as well. Mm-hmm. And I see their good work and their attempt to do that. But there are some disruptive personalities that are involved today in Fresno City politics. But that's happening in Clovis. That's happening the county board. That's happening everywhere at local government. So I don't mean to single out just the city of Fresno. But when that is the case, that there just is this feeling of like disruption, and I'm a better leader if I'm more disruptive, even if I'm not solving a darn problem, not a darn thing is changing, but look at how disruptive I am, and bravo for me. If that's
And how many
going
Twitter
on,
followers I have.
yeah, if that's going on, really only the mayor can cut through that. And I know that Mayor-elect Dyer has it in him, and he intends to break through that kind of stuff, and the residents of Fresno will be well served. Every single person serving on that city council is a good person who comes to the table looking to do good things. They connect up at times with this political attitude that is ridiculous. Yeah. And we as residents need to say, that's not okay in our community. You check that at the city boundary. When you are serving the people of Fresno, you are here to have a heart of service, ethics. You are here to have integrity in what you do, and listen to ideas that come from sometimes people who you don't like or trust. But if they're good ideas, it's your job to sit there and listen and to consider how to make them work. That's our expectation of our city council, and every person sitting on that dais has it in them to be that person.
Real quick, I got 20 seconds, guys, and I know, Paul, you mentioned in your post earlier you didn't vote in 2016. I'm curious, and you don't have to share this because it is personal, but did you vote today? And who is better for the country, do you think, moving forward?
So I did vote in 2016, but I voted none of the above for president. I always vote.
Okay.
I've made it a life goal not to vote against anybody. I only vote who I think I can vote for, but that's changing in 2020. I voted against Donald Trump for president in 2020. It's the first time in my life I felt that compulsion that I needed to vote against a candidate in an election.
Ashley, do you care to weigh in?
I will, and I'll just say same. For the first time in my life, and I've been voting for 30 years now, so you know my age now, I'm 48 years old. For the first time in my life, top of the ticket, I voted against Donald Trump and for the Democrat, Joe Biden.
All right. The Swear Engines and your podcast is every Saturday, as you mentioned. Hey, appreciate the time. Thank you so much.